Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another boxing, another offline product game review. This is Final Fantasy VII Remake INTERGRADE for the PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here is just a base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now sadly there was an update available. This update size was 4.6 gigabytes big and will take you to version 1.1.0 since the time of making this video. Now, like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues, and as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, disappointingly, right at the beginning of this is that the INTERGRADE DLC expansion is not on disc. It is only available as a download through that redeem code. Now, like always, I do not redeem codes or anything like that, so that redeem code is freely given to first come, first serve. Just remember, redeem codes are region locks, so you would need a US PSN account to redeem it. Now, I have covered Final Fantasy VII Remake before. I've covered the PlayStation 4 version back on PlayStation 4. I've never played the PS4 version on PS5, so I don't know how that experience is all entailed. So this is my second time going into Final Fantasy VII Remake for my PS5. The game ran perfectly smooth to beginning and end on performance mode at 60 frames per second, which is extremely nice to see. But the only issue is that this physical copy, compared to the PS4 version, doesn't really provide too much to the user compared to the first release. Because as I said, the INTERGRADE DLC is not on disc. There's really no other extra content, because when I first played it on PlayStation 4, it didn't really had any real issues or anything like that. But the PS5 version does have some more updated version. It's got a little bit more difficulties, like you can play a normal classic style, and I don't believe that was in the PS4 version. There's a dedicated photo mode, and I do know that certain segments and areas were enhanced a bit more for this PS5 version compared to the PS4 version. But that's all just visual flair and extra little minor features for the user's experience. They don't overall expand the game's content or give you a lot more value to your purchase. If you have the PS4 version, you're trying to justify your reason why you want to get the PS5 version. Not really any reason if you're like me who wants all the content on disc. But I do want to immediately point out, if you have a save file of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it needs to be the PS5 version for that save file to transfer over to the newer game, Rebirth. It's not like transferring over levels or anything like that. It's just transferring over and allowing to unlock a Summon Stone materia. But if you do have the INTERGRADE DLC, you'll get an extra materia. So it's a little disappointing that you won't be able to get the second materia since that content isn't on disc. But just keep that in mind. If you have the PS4 version and you play the PS4 version on PS5, that save file cannot transfer over to the Rebirth. You would have to take your PS4 save, send it through the cloud that will update it to the PS5 version, so then you can use it. Just letting you know that, to keep that in mind, that's the only way you're going to be able to get the extra content is with the PS5 physical version of the game. Now, as I said, I've already covered it, I've already talked about it. I've still relatively enjoyed this remake. It is a really good, faithful recreation of the original game, and I still greatly enjoyed my time with it. I like the split between action as well as the turn-based kind of idea where it's really fast and fluid, but you can stop the battle in mid-combat to give out commands. It felt good. I like to be able to switch between the characters, like between Barrett and Tifa and Aerith, and each one of them played a little bit differently, and each one had their own strengths and weaknesses, and depending on certain fights. Barrett is the one that's going to be the most notable, since he has the only one that really goes far range. Aerith can do range attack, but it's very slow and doesn't really feel very good. In my personal opinion, Aerith is probably the weakest character in the roster to play, but she's more of your magic caster. She's the person who's supposed to be using heal, fire, lightning, and stuff like that. She's not really your attacker, but not to say she can attack if you need a long-range attack. Then, there's nothing really wrong with the game. They do try to change certain aspects, expanding certain areas, which I did personally enjoy. But I will point out some of my grievances that I did have coming back to the game and noticing that I probably didn't talk about before. I do admit the side quests are not that interesting, but I wasn't expecting some big labyrinth side quest content. The main story and progression and everything like that still felt really good, so I'm still fine with the boring and uninteresting side quests. They're not bad, but they're not good either. They're just there to give you a little bit more content to be able to enjoy the game. The slow walk moments. Now, I'm generally not a fan of forced narrative points to force the player to do certain moments in the game. While I talked about this in between other games that I find it very frustrating and annoying. I didn't find it as frustrating and annoying in terms of this one because maybe it's just because of my biasness of just because I love Final Fantasy VII, the original. I love these characters, so I don't mind hearing them talk and engage in conversations at times. But there is a lot of slow walking moments or calling through whole crevices and tight little corner areas, which that stuff doesn't really bug me as it bugs some other people, but there you do notice there's quite a few of that in Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I don't know, like I said, it could be just strictly my biasness of liking these characters, but I still was getting a little annoyed, especially near the end. I was like, okay, could we stop doing the slow walking moments and just run to the location that we need to get to? Moving on, I've seen some people talk about how there's a lot of bloat in this game, where there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really feel that important. I want to go on a whole rant about this because I actually didn't have any issues of the extra little content in the game. That's just extra little content to be able to do. None of it's too forced, but it was interesting to see a lot of people complain about a certain segment of the game where it's like you have to move these elevators with these fans and stuff like that, and they found that tedious and boring. But when I played it, it only was like maybe 10-15 minutes to get through that area, and at least you're doing something and playing something. It blows my mind that people would say that's bad and not good, but yet they play huge open world games where you literally do nothing for 30 to 40 minutes looking for something to do, and people say that's actual content. It's like, so when something is content, it gives you something to do. That's called bloated and not good game design. But when a game is an open world game with is literal garbage game design where you get to do nothing and you have to look for fun, that's called good game design. That's a mini rant right there. I just freaking hate open world games, and I hate the double talk and jive that people have when it comes to certain games and certain design points. But moving on from that, the only thing I didn't really feel that was really good, I will agree, it felt like bloat and it didn't interest me, was the Fate battle, where you had to battle Fate to alter history or something like that. That one, yeah, that battle, it was very cringy. That's the only fight I did not like in the entire game. I just felt like this does not need to be in the game, this whole fighting Fate and everything. I mean, that's the only part I didn't like in the game. Other than that, there were some awkward cutscenes in certain moments and questionable camera shot angles between certain characters. I won't go into details about it, but just certain awkward moments. Most of these awkward moments has to do with the character Wedge. I just found him kind of creepy at times and just very uncomfortable. Just the way he acted and stuff like that, it just didn't feel right as a character. Compared to every other character, they just felt within the universe and their setup, but Wedge just, I don't know, he was starting to get on my nerves near the end, and just his voice and how he acted and stuff like that. Maybe that's just me. I just didn't really care for his character. Other than that, I greatly enjoyed this game. I had a lot of fun. The graphics are amazing. The gameplay felt good. I liked the ideas, and I liked some of the improvements that they did into the game that add more flair into it. I've never understood people's complaints that it just covers Midgar when it was like a full-price game, and the people expect that you paid $70 or $60 in the past and you would get the entire story of Final Fantasy VII, like on one purchase on, like, I guess one disc or something like that. Like, I know it's important to get onto corporations and they're greedy and stuff like that, but we have to be realistic here. And I personally don't mind it being this giant trilogy because it allows you to get more in-depth in the universe and that certain segments, like Midgar. I thought it was kind of cool to get a little bit more enrichment of Midgar and everything like that and see what the place is, see the people. I personally rather enjoyed the game. Not to say this game replaces the original game. I still highly recommend playing the original Final Fantasy VII. It's still a phenomenally good game to this day, and this remake is a decent add-on to that universe. Not to say it replaces it, but it is an additional content if you want to get more of the universe and characters and stuff like that. Voice acting was really good. The music was phenomenal. There's really nothing really wrong with the game. I still to this day don't know what people's real problems with the game, other than, like I said, the whole Fate thing and everything like that. I'm still holding my judgment. I have yet to play Rebirth. I do not have any judgment yet on what they are going to change in terms of story and how things are going to play out. I'm going to hold my judgment until I actually play the game. But for what now I've seen from the first remake here, I'm it's pretty good. I'm interested in it, and I'd like to see more of it. So like always, I will try to leave links down in the description if you're interested in copy. The only problem is that this physical copy doesn't really provide that much value compared to the PS4 version, since the content isn't on disc, and really if you're buying this physical version of the PS5 version, all you're really doing is getting a little bit more updated version of the game compared to the PS4 version. If you have the PS4 version, then there's no real reason to rush out and get the PS5 version. But if you like to get the save data transfer over so you can get the extra material for the sequel, Rebirth, then it might be worth to pick up the PS5 version. I don't know what's going for right now, but I mean, having both doesn't hurt. Have the PS4 version and the PS5 version on your shelf. It's that good of a game. I have both the PS4 and PS5 version, and I'm happy for it. So like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!